Good evening. Sorry this devotional is a little late. It has been a really busy week, as all of you know. We are going into day 3 of Vacation Bible School at Hope, and it has been such a wonderful, wonderful week with 40 kids. And next week we have the second session of VBS, and we leave on our youth mission trip with our high schoolers on Father's Day, June 20th. So I actually was just at youth group for the last 2 hours, which is why this is late, because we had our big mission meeting, one of our final times that all the high schoolers and Ellie, our youth leader, and I are getting together. So we have 9 students, 2 leaders, and a partridge in a pear tree. So prayers for the rest of VBS to be good, and prayers for our mission trip that is literally coming up in 10 days. What? It's crazy. June is crazy. So our tonight's devotional made me just kind of resonate with Moses, and tonight's devotional comes from Vacation Bible School. Cooper is drinking water. I'm gonna wait till Cooper finishes. Did you hear that? It's Cooper drinking. Anyway, okay, he's drinking a lot of water, so I'm gonna keep going. So our Bible story today was on Moses and the burning bush, and I will read the scripture from Exodus chapter 3. Now Moses was tending the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian, and he led the flock to the far side of the wilderness and came to Horeb, the mountain of God. There the angel of the Lord appeared to him in flames of fire from within a bush. Moses saw that though the bush was on fire, it did not burn up. So Moses thought, I will go over and see what a strange sight this is, why the bush does not burn up. When the Lord saw he had gone over to look, God said to him from within the bush, Moses, Moses. And Moses said, Here I am. Do not come any closer, God said. Take off your sandals, for the place you are standing is on holy ground. Then he said, I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob. At this Moses hid his face because he was afraid to look at God. The Lord said, I have indeed seen the misery of my people in Egypt. I have heard them crying out because of their slave drivers. I am concerned about their suffering. So I've come down to rescue them from the hand of the Egyptians, to bring them into the land flowing with milk and honey. And now the cry of the Israelites has reached me, and I have seen the way the Egyptians are oppressing them. So go now. I am sending you, Moses, to Pharaoh to bring my people, the Israelites, out of Egypt. So this story kind of speaks to me in 3 different ways today. This is a story that, of course, we're saying in VBS. This is a story we've all grown up with. We've heard this story. But there are 3 things that just really resonate deep in my soul today for Pastor Angie. The first is how easy it can be for us to become complacent about stuff. Lazy, blissfully ignorant, doing our own thing. And then God speaks to us, shows up, tries to get our attention, and does, in burning bushes in our lives, and breaks our heart for what breaks his, and calls us out on no longer being compliant to injustice that's happening in our world, and no longer being silent against people who are suffering, against people who are being oppressed. There really is a lot to that expression, ignorance is bliss, and the other expression, know better, do better. So that's the first thing it makes me think of. You know, Moses was this man who was living in the desert. He was kind of living his best life. He'd met his wife out there. He was tending sheep. He was working for his father-in-law. He was good. He didn't have to deal with the Egyptians. He didn't have to deal with his past. He had started this new thing. He knew about the suffering of his people, but he just didn't want to think about it, right? Because it's uncomfortable to think about injustice, oppression, other people. But that's the thing about God, is God does not allow us to ignore those things. God does not allow us to stay comfortable and complacent and blissfully ignorant. God speaks to us and shows up in big ways and educates us on how we can be advocates for the widow and the orphan, about how we can be advocates for the least of these. This makes me think of when I found out how horrible human trafficking is right now, and how there are more people who are sold into slavery than there ever has been. And human trafficking is number 2, right under the illegal sale of drugs, is the illegal sale of people. And actually less than the illegal sale of weapons, which is a lot. So it is horrific. And once I realized the reality in our world, I couldn't not do anything anymore. So yeah, we give our money to International Justice Mission. I worked for 2 years of my life in a safe house in Lakewood. I lived in the house with the women who were coming out of human trafficking. I still have relationships with a lot of those ladies. I've mentored women. And again, like, we give our prayers and we give our money to different organizations that work to fight and advocate for women coming out of the sex for sale industry. International Justice Mission also advocates for and supports children coming out of the slave trade and men. So that's the first part of that story, is Moses having to get out of his happy little bubble that he has found. He literally is out in the middle of nowhere in the wilderness. He knows about the slavery. He knows about the oppression of his people, but he's like, I'm just going to kind of ignore it. God doesn't want us to ignore the pain of his people. He doesn't. He does not want us to go to church and sit in our air conditioning and be comfortable and live our little lives. We are called to get messy, get uncomfortable, be challenged, and grow in our faith. And part of growing in our faith is growing out of our comfort zone and making a really big difference in this world in whatever way God has broken your heart. Maybe it's creation care. We've also been talking about that a lot at VBS. And if it's not human trafficking, it could be recycling in the environment, which is also a disaster. So you could no longer be complacent about that and really start to do things for the world that the Lord has given us and we are in charge of taking care of. The second part of this scripture and this story is that Moses is called to go back to his past. Moses is called to reconcile. Moses is called to atone for his sins, and that he has to look people in the eye who he has fled from, and he has to go back to where it all started. Moses murdered an Egyptian who was beating an Israelite slave, murdered him, threw him in the sand, and later on an Israelite called him out on it and was like, "Are you going to murder me like that Egyptian? Because I saw you," and word is spread. So he flees. Part of what God calls us to do is to reconcile the hard stuff. Maybe go and ask for forgiveness. Maybe accept someone else's apology. Both are really hard. And finally, forgive someone else. Again, maybe it's reconciling. But if we don't heal from our past, Moses had not healed from his past. If we don't allow God to heal us from our past and we keep running from it and we keep running from it and we keep running from it, guess what? It's never going to get better. Those wounds are only going to get larger, and the shame and the hardship is just going to get bigger. And so that's the second part of the scripture that is so powerful to me, is that it's not just going to Egypt, this place that he's never been. It's going to Egypt where he spent his childhood and where he was a young adult, and it has been decades. So it's a reckoning. It's a reckoning, and God calls us to the reckoning. And the final part that just makes me all teary-eyed is this: when God says, "Take off your sandals, for where you are standing is holy ground." Do not come any closer. Take off your sandals, for the place where you are standing is holy ground. The thing that is so incredible about following Jesus, the thing that is so amazing about ministry, Vacation Bible School, youth mission trips, music ministry, church choir, adult discipleship, Bible studies, senior ministry, going to visit folks in the retirement home, prison ministry, the list goes on and on and on. It's holy ground. It's ministry that matters, every single part of it. It is holy ground. The work that God is calling us to do is holy, and it is set apart, and it is not easy, and it is not comfortable, and it is not something that will allow you to stay the exact same as you were a year ago, and the year before that, and the year before that, all comfy cozy. And it is not something where you can just run from your problems and you can run from the past. But what it is it is holy. So friends, loved ones, beloved congregants, remember, as you are running around, as you are serving in education ministry, as you are serving on a committee, you are a lay leader, as you are serving for Vacation Bible School, as you are serving, as you are an usher, as you are a liturgist in worship, as you are financially sacrificing and giving so generously that it hurts a little bit because you care about this cause, the mission and the ministry of this church, every single bit of it is holy ground. Every single bit of it. And Moses was called to the exact same thing that we are called to today. And that is pretty incredible. I love you all so much. I will not have a devotional on Friday. I will actually be at a college reunion / baby shower in Greeley, Colorado. So no devotional on Friday. I have a really quick trip to Greeley, Colorado, where I'm from, but also where I went to college. And my best friend, Heather, who I've literally known my whole life, is having a baby next month. So we are having a shower for her and a college reunion for all of the girls. So that is tomorrow night until Saturday night. So I will see you all at church on Sunday, either online or in person. I love you all so much. And I will talk to you all later. Bye.